Hey, shalom, shalom. It's your brother Rutters Allah from GMS London Camp. First and foremost, want to give all praises and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rechakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Blessings to the hopeful and sincere elect. It's a quick update, man. Seeing this from GMS North Carolina's chat page, camp page on the YouTube, man. And the elders put it up from North Carolina. It says, yes, Mexico is making biometric identification mandatory for all citizens, man. So you already know what time it is now. You know, the CHIP technology is definitely on the horizons, and E is definitely going digital, and soon this technology is going to be made mandatory around the four winds of the earth. And that's how you see that situation with the immigration and ICE raids that they're having over there, particularly with the Northern Tribe, and then they're going to move on to the Southern Kingdom as well. And putting Jakes up in internment camps like Alcatraz, re-education centers surrounded by alligators and shit like that, showing you the times that we're coming into: total seditious, austere times of straight up civil unrest, and definitely not martial law. You know, and Esau's just going to declare straight up war on the American citizens, man, because they're going to become the new DTs, and that DT stands for domestic T's, you know, and foreign T's as well. And everyone's going to be associated with being an enemy of the state, basically. Anyone that speaks against the government or, you know, so-called wants to exercise their First Amendment rights, you know, they're basically going to be seen as divergents, and they're going to end up in internment camps, man, to take those biometric devices. And especially if you're an immigrant trying to get over the border, this is going to be the new form of transportation or identification when you're trying to transfer from one state to another, man, from one border to another. You're gonna have to have this biometric identity, which is ultimately going to be that CHIP technology underneath your skin or in your forehead. It says this change is part of a new law that transforms the previously optional biometric based CERP. It's a clav on. So we've seen out the registrio, they put I can't even pronounce that last one, Slovakia. My Spanish is poor. It says into a mandatory document of official procedures. So this is going to be mandated. What the scriptures talk about, the mandate, the hour of temptation, man. Apostles and elders have been speaking about that for years, that this, you know, it's going to be voluntary at first, but then they're going to start mandating that people take the CHIP technology. And if you don't, you're going to be basically enemy combatant, you know, outside of the system, basically, you know. And says the new system will integrate biometric data like fingerprints and iris scans, or only the CHIP technology. This is the RFID, the MOT to the B. This is into the CERP and will be used for accessing public and private services, yeah. Like your medicals and all of these different things, work, public and private services. You know, it's going to be integrated into society, man. It's going to be part of the IoT, the Internet of Things, or the Internet of Bodies. So we're here, man. You know, mandatory biometric CERP. Says the law requires the Mexican citizens to obtain and use the biometric CERP for official identification purposes, man. So if you can't see that the MOT to the B is a CHIP technology, and we're coming to that time now, then it's obvious that the Lord don't want you to see it, because ultimately you're gonna take that technology in your right hand, in your forehead, and you're gonna be marked for death. But you ain't gonna have that spiritual mark. The Dawad means an exemption from judgment, written of in Ezekiel 9:4. You're gonna have that physical mark, a digital all, put underneath your skin, and that's gonna basically mark your deletion from Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai and the holy angels, man. When the Lord returns with that nuclear fire, man, you're gonna be burnt to a crisp, you know, to taking the MOT to the B. The only ones that's gonna resist are the elect, the holy elect, man. You know, scattered around the four winds, and then basically over there, the 1/3 and the 144,000 that's predominantly over there in Americas, they're going to resist taking the CHIP technology even unto death. They're the ones that's going to get victory over the image and his mark, like it tells in Revelation 15:1. So this is we can't stress this enough, man. You know, we said this to ad nauseum state, and it's definitely gonna on the horizons, man. MOT to the B, they're going to make this thing mandatory soon, you know. Could be before the end of this year, you know, and anything can happen between now and the end of this year, man. You know, all the Abkeo scenario type scenarios, and, you know, false flags to push this MOT to the B system. They already got the immigration situation going on with the ICE raids, and want them to identify and identifying so-called illegals in the Americas, man, and detaining them in the detention centers, like, yo. So there's no other course of action, man. This is what's gonna happen during the time of martial law, during the time of the hour of temptation, Jacob's trouble. And the apostles been warning of this, man. You know, it's the 2 Thessalonians 2:10. It says, with all deceivableness and unrighteousness in them that perish, which are the 2/3 of the nation of Israel, the undesirables, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. Yeah. So the Lord's not going to deliver 2/3 of his own people. They're not going to be taken, you know, up in the chariots and this go around, so to speak. They're going to be left down here in ground zero to be, you know, part of the nuclear holocaust, which is the lake of fire that's going to engulf the whole of America, man. Not no river over there in the land of Bosra in the Middle East. You know, modern day Bosra is talking about America, Babylon the Great. That place is going to be burnt to asunder, to a nuclear crisp, by way of the nuclear missiles and the laser beams from the chariots of the Lord when he returns, you know. And 2/3 are going to be in part of that nuclear flame too. They're going to be backstroking, as I always say, in those nuclear flames, man, that lake of fire. It says, and for this cause the Most High shall send them strong delusion that they should believe a lie. So, you know, the Lord's going to make 2/3 trust in this devil and his technology to take that C-hip, the MOT to the B, so he can mark them for death. Literally mark them for deletion on this side, man, because they're not going to receive the love of this truth, that they might be saved. It says that they all might be damned. Damned means, you know, destroyed, means damned, judged, utterly destroyed, man, who believe not the truth. It says, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. See, if you take off that C-hip technology, you're having pleasure in unrighteousness, and the Lord's not going to have no other choice but to delete you, because you would have disobeyed the direct order. In Revelations 14:9-10, where the Lord said, don't take it to anyone that takes to that mark is going to get burnt with nuclear fire, you know, laser, you know, and laser beams from the chariots. But ultimately by that nuclear fire, man, because that's going to scorch the earth, and really it's going to scorch the whole land of America, and anyone that's left in that land, they're going to be part of the, you know, made part of the soil, so to speak, or add fuel to the fire. Revelations 3:10, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation. And this is what the hour of temptation is all about. This situation like this, mandating of identifications, biometric identifications, man. And they're saying it's going to be, you know, iris and fingerprint, but ultimately it's going to be underneath your skin, either in your forehead or in your right hand or in your left hand. That's going to be the new trade-off, a new form of identification. And then they're going to have all your public and private services on there, your banking information, your you know, hospitality information, all your accommodation, all that stuff, all your legal documents, all that stuff is going to be on your C-hip technology, man. You know, as well as your medical and stuff of that nature. So the only way you're going to be able to access those services is if you got a new registered identifier, a biometric ID, which is the C-hip technology, man. Basically, that's the only way you're going to be able to access services in society in the future to come. You know, the smart cities and so on and so forth, which these devils are setting up as we speak. So yeah, we're here, man. You can't stress this enough, man. So I'll read Revelations 3:10 again. It's because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world, the whole known world, and the inhabited world. It says to try them that dwell upon the earth, which is the same thing. So it's talking about every citizen on the face of the earth. That's in these, especially in these major metropolis cities, you know. These different economies around the four winds, they're all going to endorse and push this technology on their citizens. And if you don't take part, then basically you're going to be an enemy combatant, as I said, enemy of the state. But this is going to be a new form of tracking and tracing, man. It's coming down to the wire, man. So this is not a joke. And it tells you in the Apocrypha, them that give consent unto them should be held in derision, which are the 2/3 once again. Because they're going to put their trust in Egypt, and it's going to be to their detriment, to their destruction. Instead of putting to trust in the Holy One of Israel, which the Lord prescribes for the elect to do, which they're going to do, even unto death. So yeah, Revelations 2:10, men are going to be put in prison for a certain amount of time. The Lord said, be faithful unto death. Even if these devils grab you up and put you in them detention centers, surrounded by a bunch of alligators, you got to be faithful unto death, man. But the Lord's going to make a way for his elect to be delivered, and they're going to see the salvation of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua anyway, whether they die in this truth, or they get to see the resurgence of our Lord and Savior Yahushua come through the chariot with the chariots. They're going to be the first ones to be delivered, to see the salvation of the elect. Be beamed up to the chariots, man. So, as I said, man, it's coming down to the wire. Just saw this article here with this heading from GMS North Carolina. I think there was a 777, if I'm not mistaken. GMS North Carolina 777 channel, and yeah, man, you gotta stay diligent and vigilant, man. Keep watching and praying, man. So with that, close out. Give all praises and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakach Chodash, Shalom to the hopeful and sincere elect.